Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome into the Monday episode of the Coach and Bro Show, part of the Behind the Turnbuckle Universe. I am your navigator, your host, the Coach, BTT. If you haven't subscribed to our page, please do that. We have two different brands here now, Behind the Turnbuckle and also the Coach and Bro Show. We drop episodes, and now we are live for every single episode every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and also Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We break down the biggest stories in the world of pro wrestling. If you're coming here for segment by segment from Raw and SmackDown, you've come to the wrong show. If you're here for big discussions, fun discussions, and to laugh a little bit, and you want to comment, we encourage you to do that now. You can watch this on our YouTube channel, on social media, and also next Monday night, I'll tell you about that as I bring in my partner. Love him. He's also a part of the DTL community as well from russosbrand.com. And Vince, I can't quite put my finger on it, but you look kind of different today. What's going on with you?
Yeah, Coach. Remember a couple of shows back, I had a rant of the week on one of your shows, driving the line,
Yes.
and I exposed my wife for wearing the house coat to bed every night. Remember the old
Oh,
house
yes.
coat, sending
Yes.
the message. So, Coach, I decided to send the message back. As long as she's doing the house code gimmick, I am not cutting my hair or shaving in 2025. So we're at this standoff. There's a
You're at a
standoff.
crossroads. You're at a
There's
crossroads.
a standoff right now, Coach. She wears the house coat to bed every night. I'm letting the hair and the beard grow. How about that?
Oh my God, Vince, the sick part of my brain would love for you just to like run a video to see who wins the stand. Because I have a feeling you sleep back to back too, don't you?
No, bro. Actually, Coach, I got to be honest, bro. If it's 100%
Let's
disclosure,
be 100. Let's be
Coach,
100.
we don't sleep in the same bed. She snores like a mule, Coach. Like a mule, Coach. So I sleep in the spare room, Coach. I can't deal with the snoring, Coach.
But
And
but
Coach,
you
let me
can.
tell you something. It's been that way, Coach, for 26 years.
Wow. So
Yes.
almost your
That's
entire
what. Yeah.
entire relationship.
Well, that's why we've been married 41 years, bro. 25, 26 years I've been sleeping on my own.
You're my
How about that?
hero.
Yeah.
You're my hero.
Now,
Between the two of
now,
us,
yeah.
we were married 47 years.
Yeah.
Between the
Now,
two
when
of us.
it's hey nanny time, you do the hey nanny. Then I go back to my quarters, Coach. That's how it
All right,
works.
so to be clear, that's what we're calling that is Hey Nanny Nanny.
Hey nanny. That's
Okay,
enough
so
said. Yeah.
Hey Nanny Nanny, Mammy
Yeah.
Pamby, you'll learn a lot of the lingos here.
Yes.
I could not believe the response to doing this show live. It's like almost like double
Unbelievable.
the audience.
Yeah.
Double the audience.
Unbelievable, Coach.
So now we got to teach
Coach.
the live audience.
Coach,
Yes.
real quick, crappy playoff games, huh, Coach?
Snore fest, an
Oh,
absolute snore fest. Only one game was really, really good. That was the Sunday night game last night.
right.
That was one
Right.
last, but it was really a snore fest. But Vince, historically, that's what happens in the first week of the
Yeah.
NFL because you got really good teams in the wild card team. So it didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And by the way, because we cross promote everything here at the brand, we will have DTL Primetime Live tonight at 7 p.m. There's one game left: the Vikings and the Rams, and also. Vince, it's a big deal. We have a big announcement. Coach and Bro is part of the Behind the Turnbuckle universe. We're all partners. We're all brothers. Me, you, and Big Tommy C. Combined, by the way, if you're new to this channel, over 60 years in the professional wrestling business, over 50 years inside the WWE. Where else do you want to go?
Mm.
But Mr. Bio or Bill in the chat says, new subscriber, since the Raw debut on Netflix, really enjoyed the recap show. Guess what, Vince? Next Monday night, we debut The Last Word, which is our Behind the Turnbuckle Monday night show. We will be live on all of the stadium apps, Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV. We're going to be on YouTube TV, the biggest network in the country, Roku TV. We're very excited. We're only 9 months into this thing. Very excited. And obviously, we're going to figure out a way to get you involved because you also have a Monday night show. We know that.
Yeah.
But I had to make that announcement today because we're really wanting to start growing these brands together. But it's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that, Coach. That's huge, huge news, man. Good things happen to good people, Coach.
I appreciate that very, very much. We will continue to grow one step at a time and one relationship at a time. All right, we got a lot of topics to get into today, Vince, but the biggest one, and it's a little misleading. And for those people who are new to the brand, we talk about Vince McMahon as part of the wrestling history and the company, and we never really hit on all of the allegations because, quite frankly, we don't need to. But Vince, he put out a tweet a couple of days ago and basically said it's over, and now everything has been settled with the SEC over the accounting errors of some personal payments he made that he didn't account for. So a lot of people took that to believe that the Janelle Grant situation was over, which is not the case. But here's what he had to do to settle that with the federal government and the SEC. He paid a $400,000 civil penalty, and he paid back to the WWE $1.3 million in reimbursement and had to sign a cease and desist from violating certain provisions of the agreement. He said, quote, "In the end, there was never anything more than this minor accounting errors of regard to some personal payments I made years ago." Janelle Grant's legal team says it will continue, and they will use this SEC filing as evidence. What do you make of the fact that Vince, I think, deliberately tried to make people believe on social media that the whole thing was over when it is not?
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. He trying to confuse people. However, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. In order for Vince to get his own company up and running again, whatever that may be, he had to cross a couple of things off the list. This was a big one, Coach. This was a big one, but not surprising because we all knew, you know, when Trump was put in office, Trump and Vince became buddies, and the old district attorney was out, new district attorney in under the Trump regime. So, you know, they had to decide whether or not they were going to go forward with this. Obviously, they're not going to go forward to it. $1.7 million, a drop in the bucket for Vince. This is a big X. This is a big X off his list. Now, what he's going to fight for, Coach, which he's already started fighting for, is bringing the Janelle Grant case to arbitration. If he can make that happen and wind up paying her off, at that point, Coach, he's pretty much clear and free to do whatever he wants to do. So he is going to try everything in his power to bring this case to arbitration.
What's crazy is that he could have done that already. We're not making light of the allegations, but the bottom line is, from his perspective, they were bogus. And just the facts that are on the table, if he would have paid her the $3 million with the NDA, this wouldn't even be happening right now. He would have been in the free and clear to now move forward. The other part of this is, and I heard Eric Bischoff and a few other people I really respect in this business talking about it, that out here in LA, which obviously it's been all about the fires and all of the devastation, but very quietly under the guise of a new company, he has purchased reportedly or leased office space. And he's going to launch a new entertainment company. He's already signed 2 or 3 different employees that I worked with many, many years in the WWE that are quietly working with him as well. And he wants to become an angel investor. Because Vince, remember, he cashed in for like in between $2 billion and $5 billion a year ago. So he's sitting on this big lump of money with nothing to do with it. He's almost 80 years old. And it doesn't surprise me that he does not want this to be the end of his legacy. And he would love nothing more than to have a comeback and say, yeah, I made some mistakes, which he has not admitted to yet. I made some mistakes. Let me do good moving forward with whatever time I have left. Do you see that as a possibility?
Well, Coach, what he's doing is he's getting all his ducks in a row. And it is amazing, Coach, because when you look at all the stock he sold off and got billions of dollars, He had already given Janelle Grant $1 million. So we're talking about $2 million.
Yes.
So he's looking back. $2 million to Vince McMahon at this point is $2,000, coach, to you and I. So now he's looking back at a measly $2 million is what's keeping him from going forward with all this. But listen, I got to be honest. He's, getting all his ducks in the row. If he's got office space, he's already hired some people. He's planning to go forward. And, Janelle Grant and her attorneys are pretty much standing in the way.
It's funny to me that I'm guessing with how long this has gone on, he's probably spent well over 7 figures in legal fees, that it was just arrogance, if you're asking me, why he would not pay her the additional $2 million that he agreed to in the NDA. But that ship has sailed. He no longer can go back and put the story back into the box, so to speak. But then you also have to ask the question, because we've seen so many people that have hit rock bottom and come back out the other side. For example, Michael Vick, who years and years ago went to prison for over 2 years for dogfighting. He just got hired as a college head football coach at an HBCU school in Norfolk State. It can happen. And I hate when people just cancel somebody for something they may have done. But he's not 40 years old. Right. He's 79 years old. Yes. And you and I know him about as well as anybody. And if there's a person that doesn't want to go down and has fought for everything that he's ever wanted in this business, it would be Vince McMahon. It would be Vince McMahon.
Yeah, coach, no question about it. But like you said, the key thing, and I bring this up all the time, number one, time is not on his side. And listen, coach, let's be honest. My dad yesterday celebrated his 94th birthday. Mm-hmm. But coach, let's be honest. At 79 years old, what body enhancements Vince may or may not have taken over the years. So that's going to come into play as well concerning his health. Mm-hmm. So, and I say this all the time. Number one, his age is against him. Number two, coach, we have no idea what kind of health he's in. We've not seen him publicly. He's not showing his face anywhere. Who knows what type of health Vince McMahon is in at this point in time? So, yeah, man, that absolutely is working against him.
It's there's certain people that you never think about their age. You never think about them changing. I always say like Coach K from Duke. He always had the black hair. Even when he aged, we know he was coloring it, but you don't think about it, right? And Vince was always that guy to me that I met him on his 54th birthday in 1999. And he never had an age to me. It was always that was who he was. But he's certainly starting to show his age now. He can physically no longer do it. And I also think there will be a lot of people, because we're seeing it out here, that will take a job with him only for the money, because the media business has changed. The wrestling business has changed. So I don't know who's going to go work for him. I know a few names already. But it'll be very interesting to see who takes the money and allows him to be the angel investor, because he's smart enough to know that if he starts something, it's going to be an epic fail from the jump. Nobody's going to buy in because of how much the reputation has taken a hit.
But coach, think about karma. Think about that, because what was Vince and Jerry McDevitt known for? If somebody, a talent, an employee, if somebody sued them, they would drag the thing out forever, hoping that person would run out of money and could no longer afford the legal fees. That was their number one game plan. Now that's working against him, because if this thing gets drawn out, he's getting older and older and older. So the one of the very important tools in his toolbox for decades is now working against him.
He should go against everything he believes in. And I was a part, I think I've told you the story. I was a star witness in one of those cases where he spent over $1 million to save a dollar, as I like to say. And that was a case where this former wrestler sued him, saying that he had to wrestle with a concussion. The problem was that wrestler was on an episode of Sunday Night Heat, got knocked out of the ring, and was laying on the ground. And we used to sit out there, and we wouldn't call the matches, but remember when you see a certain camera shot and you see the announcers? So we had to sit out there. And I remember this wrestler was sitting there talking to me clear as a bell. There was nothing wrong with him for like 5 minutes. So unfortunately, I was in the wrong place, right time, and I saved Vince $11 million at that time. But that's for people who don't know this. He is against settling with anybody.
Yeah.
It's always been, and sometimes whether you're guilty or not, sometimes it's a smart thing to settle. And right now, if he wants to start this new company, and somebody in the chat said if he does, he should hand it to Shane. Caleb Blair said that. That would be fascinating because Shane is kind of a baby face in all of this. The kids, the grandkids, all of them that took, the hit karma-wise, I don't even know if Shane would take it because I don't even know if they have a relationship at this point. I don't know that. But I would assume that Vince is very, very lonely, and you never see him in public. You never see shots of him in public, which probably the only person worth over $5 billion that doesn't leave his house. And that sucks for him. All right, we'll keep an eye on this as we go. By the way, Vince, well over 700 people watching live right now.
That's awesome.
From Ireland, Portugal, Canada, a lot of different countries weighing in right now. So thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're just getting started. We're going to grow this thing into a real brand, real shows. I have a dream, Vince.
Go ahead.
I have a dream that the Coach and Bro Show will also be live on Amazon Prime and DirecTV. Let's give it a date by June 1st.
Wow, I like it. I like it. Yeah.
We belong there. We belong there.
Yeah, and there's no question about it. Listen, we tell it like it is, man. We're not tied to any companies. We're not looking for any favors. You're in the coach business. I'm in the bro business. Together, we're in the coach and bro business.
Forever, man. We're going to be partners forever. I absolutely have enjoyed not only getting to launch PTT, but this with you. We're really good friends. But the one thing we don't do, if you're new to this brand, we never agree just to agree.
No.
Ever. This is legit. And if we verbally spar, fantastic. That's what adults do.
Right.
All right. By the way, Caleb says WWF was Shane and Stephanie's birthright, and Vince just said, "Screw them kids." That's the way we felt a lot of the time backstage. It's if my kids, I can't even imagine if I had billions and billions of dollars, Vince, and you're a father too, not giving it to my children. I can't even imagine that the relationship would get to a point where you go, nope, I want my kids to have to work at something they don't want to do. It just, to me, the whole situation's crazy and has been for many, many years.
Coach, if I had a bet, just knowing the plays and knowing the game and looking at the circumstances, I would bet that Vince is at odds with Triple H and Stephanie, and Shane is in favor with Vince at this point. That would be my guess.
Showing Stephanie in the front row last week, that was, I think, to prove a point, and I think to rub it in a little bit to Vince, who they knew was going to be watching at home. She had that classic Stephanie McMahon smile, I'm happy to be here, and let's clap like this, and the whole deal. That was strategic. You don't show a McMahon child unless what do you think the reason was that they showed her on that first episode of Raw on Netflix?
I think a lot of it is this is the McMahon we're in business with today. This is the McMahon, not Vince McMahon. People, Coach, they don't know the case. And we're going back a couple of years now when Vince was taken off the board and trying to get back on the board, and there had to be a vote, and his daughter and son-in-law voted against him coming back to the company. That right there, Coach, and that was a couple of years ago. Endgame. That was endgame. That's when Vince said, "You're going to get this company over my dead body." That's when he sold the company to Endeavor. And, ever since then, man, like you said, it's like we're sticking Vince's face in it. Triple H out there at WrestleMania, Triple H out there, the open of Netflix, Stephanie in the first row. Coach, I got to tell you something. 79, 89, 99, I don't think I would ever pick a fight with Vince McMahon, Coach. You and I know him. I don't care how old the dude is. I ain't picking a fight with Vince McMahon.
He will fight to the death,
Yes.
especially if he feels like he is correct.
Yes.
Really, really does. And I think that there's so much going on right now because I know he pissed off a lot of people at Endeavor when he cashed in the stock, because when you do it, when you dump it all at one time, it drives the stock price down. So I know they recently met with him in LA, the people from Endeavor. Who knows what was going on in those meetings? But I also think, and I'm not saying they watched the Coach and Bro show, but I do believe that your message and my message gets back to certain people in the WWE. It just does. I've been told that.
Yeah.
And when you have stood on this ledge saying that within 18 months, Triple H will not be a part of this version of WWE. And as we watched last week, and you and I both agreed, it's got to come out. You do the Open, you do the Rock, and you got that 5 minutes for Michael Cole to tell the story. And in between that, you had 9 minutes of Triple H and the curtains coming down. And people on Twitter said, "Coach, you're a hater. You're negative." Vince would have done the exact same thing. I don't believe that he would have. I don't think he would have put himself in the ring
No.
that.
No.
It would have gone straight to Rock, because he always the one thing I always respected about him, he did what was best for business in the moment. That's what he was always about.
Coach, I say this all the time. I worked with Dixie Carter when she owned TNA as a talent. I worked with Jeff Jarrett when he owned TNA as a talent. I worked with Vince McMahon as a talent. Vince had zero ego as a talent, Coach. Zero ego. When Dixie and Jeff would be on the show, it was all about them. They would take so much of my time for their character. Vince, what do you got me doing? I told him one time, we rolled. That was it. Never asked any questions, never overthink. He had a role in the show, and Coach, he always knew, and you will know this because you know him.
Yep.
He had one concern: to get the talent he was working with over.
Whether
it was Rock, whether it was Austin, it was Vince's idea, Coach, to pee himself when Austin pulled out the 3. That was Vince's idea. There was no ego with Vince when he was a talent. So absolutely not. He would have never put himself front and center in situations like that.
And the reason he was that way was as the company was growing, and with pay-per-view really taking the company, when I got there, the company was worth, let's say, between 100 and 200 million dollars. Then it quickly, over the next year and a half, went to $1 billion company. How did he do that? Well, a lot of ways. He had really good stars, but they started strategic selling licensees around the world to 160 countries. So imagine doing the Coach and Bro show, and we sell it to 160 countries, and all those checks are coming in for one show. You work smarter, not harder. He was all about making the show better, and those stars, merchandise sales, pay-per-view sales, all that mattered, and they mattered with those guys. So I think that part is a misconception about Vince McMahon. So we'll see. Vince, we're going to Kenya now. Kenya has weighed in. Here on the code. We are literally worldwide.
Nice.
Really right. James says from Kenya, Vince, bro, and Coach been doing the Charleston. People ask me all the time. They said, "Did you weigh in on all the skits that you just did?" And I was home over the holidays, and you know, my dad got really sick and had to be rushed to the hospital. So we had a lot of time to sit around and talk about the memories. And we used to, in my house, listen to Barry Manilow. And I don't know if you ever remember this, but I had to, with The Rock, he made me sing a Barry Manilow song. It was Copacabana.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Come on, Coach, sing Barry Manilow. We know you love him." And so I sing Copacabana. Oh, yeah. The hottest spot north of Havana. And so right after that show, I get a call, or the company gets a call from the road manager of Barry Manilow. And he is coming to do his Christmas show at Radio City Music Hall. And he says, "Hey, we just saw," they called me Mr. Coachman because they didn't know who I was. Does he really like Barry Manilow? Would he like 2 tickets to Radio City Music Hall? Well, of course. I mean, are you kidding me? Is there anything better than New York City Radio City Music Hall in December.
Mm.
So I took 2 tickets, and right as the light came down, who walks right in front of me? And this audience may not know who it is, but Regis Philbin sat right in front of me at Barry Manilow off of that SmackDown skit with The Rock all those years ago. I'll never, and my mom just brought that up in the hospital. And I was like, you know what? Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Some of the stuff that came out of those skits back then. You know what I mean?
Coach, I got to tell you something. I'm going to top that, and I'm going to listen.
Oh, give it to me.
And people, you call me a mamby-pamby all you want, because I'm going to give you 2 mamby-pamby moments, Coach. First of all, Coach, I myself saw Barry Manilow in concert at the Nassau Coliseum with my mother and grandmother during his heyday. Number 2, Coach, you're going to learn a lot about me on this show.
Okay.
Coach, I am a huge, this is Mr. Mamby-Pamby, Sissy Mary, girly boy.
Where are you going right now?
I am a huge Liza Minnelli mark.
Oh my God. Oh my producer, man, we got to cancel.
Hold on.
We got to cancel.
One of the greatest female entertainer of all time. Hanging with Dean and Frank and Sammy. So, Coach, Radio City Music Hall, front row seats I paid for. Coach, Lonnie Anderson sitting to my left. Danny Aiello sitting to my right, Coach.
Wow.
How about that?
All the 70-year-old fans watching us right now are just they are just like they're pumping their fists right now.
Yes.
Maddie says namby-pamby. They love that.
Oh yeah. Coach, I own mamby-pamby. If I'm mamby-pamby over something, I own it, Coach.
We've got to put a mamby-pamby shirt up at our BTT merch store. That's going to be our next one we make. By the way, the all-important questions from the chat. Did Vince actually pee himself against Austin, or was it a working pee?
That was a working pee. But Vince's idea, let me make that 100% clear.
I've always said this, that Vince would never ask you to do something that he wasn't willing to do.
No.
That was one thing you can say about Vince.
Yep.
All right, let's spin it forward. You're watching the Coach and Bro Show. We have episodes every single Monday and Thursday. You can find us right here at our BTT YouTube page. And again, Behind the Turnbuckle, The Last Word launches on Stadium, Amazon, DirecTV next Monday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So, Vince, we have arrived at the night that we said could be a real problem for WWE if they don't do it correctly. And that is week number 2, night number 2 on Monday Night Raw. Now, Triple H said last week that there were some wrestlers that came into his office. They were politicking to be on the opening episode, which was like red carpet, bigger than WrestleMania. The card was better than WrestleMania. Whether or not delivered like WrestleMania, that's arguable. But tonight, and I wonder if this guy was one of the complainers, Damian Priest will take on Finn Balor in a street fight in the main event. Now, he was on the show last week, but he didn't wrestle. He just cut a promo, and it was bad promo with Rhea Ripley. How do you think WWE follows up night 1 with night number 2?
Coach, you know what's interesting? And here's where we talk about things nobody else talks about.
Always.
This is really interesting, Coach. Think about the money Netflix spent on Raw and think about the strategy.
Okay.
They launched last Monday night. The regular NFL football season is over.
Mm-hmm.
They have the entire audience. They do a number which I think was okay. I don't think it was a great number by any stretch of the imagination. But now, Coach, they premiere unopposed. The next 2 weeks, they've got an NFL playoff game tonight, and they got the college championship next Monday.
Correct.
So now what do we got? We got what we always get in wrestling, tailor-made excuses of why that's going to do a crappy number tonight. And Coach, let me just give you an example of an excuse. Hold on, Coach, because I know this is one of your favorites. Everybody quiet down now in the chat room, please. This is a typical when a wrestling show doesn't draw excuse. Here we go, Coach. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer did a big number as well.
Okay, all right. Coach, let me ask you a question. Coach, you know a lot of TV. You are the king of TV.
I try.
So they open up unopposed. The next 2 weeks, they got NFL playoff game, collegiate football game. So now we've got a built-in excuse for the next 2 weeks. Coach, why wouldn't they wait till those 2 weeks were over before they debuted the show on Netflix?
So you're saying they should have been like January 27th or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
does that.
Yeah, does that make any? They know these big events are coming up. Why would they not wait till 3 weeks in?
Vince, they were only on the calendar for a year. You got to stop with this logic. All right. They scheduled this 4 months ago. These dates were on the calendar for a year. But I want to throw out the numbers. You said you thought they were okay. I want to compare the numbers because I said something on X, and they said, but Coach, this is worldwide. I said, okay, let's talk worldwide numbers. So 2.6 million in the United States on Netflix.
Right.
All right. A normal Raw on USA was like 1.8, 1.9. So it wasn't that much more. But I said, okay, let's talk worldwide because the NFL games on Christmas Day did north of 25 million people for that. The Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, over 60 million people watched that fight with probably less promotion than what Monday Night Raw had leading into Netflix. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So the number worldwide was 4.9 million people. So a fifth of the NFL audience and 8% of the Jake Paul audience.
And Coach, you're forgetting one other small detail.
Give it to me.
Those numbers included +1. So those numbers included the people that watched the show Monday, +1, and Tuesday. So those numbers, those numbers are 2-day numbers. So how many people watched it twice?
The OG, the hardcore fans absolutely do. I gotta catch something that I didn't see the first time around. Wow, it's to me. We're consciously trying to be more of a show that's even because being honest, apparently not everybody likes that. But it's really hard to put a positive spin after 4 months of hardcore promotion. In fact, they put a superstar on every single one of those pregame shows for the Netflix Christmas Day games, which included the defending champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. So to me, and rarely does a show with this much promotion shoot up after the first week. Usually it's this, and then it goes down, and then it maintains. So if their top number is 4.9 million, remember when the Attitude Era at its peak, when you were there writing the show, it was 5 to 6 million people just for the United States.
Yeah,
that's in comparison.
And if nobody believes us, that's fine. What Coach said. See, Coach, here's the thing with me. I don't say anything unless I can back it up with facts.
Me too. Try.
If you wanna back up what Coach said, just go look at what the WWE numbers were on Fox, because they were exactly what Coach just laid out. So there is a pattern and there is a history, and that pattern and history, I would bet money, is going to repeat itself on Netflix.
And there's going to be people out there that say, Coach, but what about this show or this show? Let me compare. Vince, this is an audience that has been groomed for 30 or 35 years. All right. It's not an audience of a let's say Yellowstone, just for the sake of argument. So Yellowstone comes on, and it takes a little while for people to find it. Then all of a sudden, man, I love this show.
Seinfeld almost got canceled the first year.
There you go. Great
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And so, but that was an audience that did not exist. It's a new audience, so it takes a little bit of time. This is an audience that's been there since you and I were there 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And so if that's the case, then they're trying to get that, and we know what Netflix is trying to do. They want to get mom and dad that doesn't subscribe to subscribe to Netflix and then watch everything else and become that yearly, and every head has a number. And so you got really smart people who are saying, okay, if every head is worth $100 a year, how many heads do we need to add to pay for this deal? The other part, you mentioned the Fox deal, which I was a big part of, because they used my work at ESPN to show Fox this can work on network television. So that was a 10-year deal. Vince, probably a year, or not 10, but it was like 5. A year or two in, they were trying to actively get out of that deal quickly. They didn't want to last 5 years. Vince, this is a 10-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to dig in, and they got to say, let's focus on storylines. You Netflix executives, I don't want to hear from you for a year. Let us do our work, because this is 10 years that if the number goes like this, that's what people are going to focus on, not on the show.
And Coach, to piggyback what you're saying, how did we start this conversation? Then why in God's name would you preview the show one week when you know the next week you got a huge NFL playoff game, the following week you got the college championship? Why would you roll it out that way, Coach?
Well, the one thing that you talk about Vince being stubborn, and it feels like there's a little bit of stubbornness going on here, because Vince always thought his show was the biggest star in the room, no matter what else was in the room. And so it feels like to me that a little naiveness was going on here, because they looked at the end of the regular season, not at the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think they forgot, oh, snap. There is now one playoff game on Monday nights, which has never happened before. It started, I think, last year. And then this national championship has never gone this late before.
Right.
It's always the first Monday of the year, because you only had 4 teams. Now you got 12 teams.
Yeah.
So you need to have some really smart people looking at the entire landscape instead of going, well, this is what they did last year, so it's going to be exactly the same. These other organizations are not doing that. They're actively trying to be better. They're actively trying to make more money, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Coach, baseball, I think it's Japan. I think it's Japan this year. But, I think the Dodgers are opening up, Dodgers and somebody opening up the season in Japan this year. Coach, March. The first baseball games are going to be in March this year. Usually it's April. In mid-March. So you're right. They are constantly trying to improve, trying to get more viewers, whatever they have to do. But my God, if somebody didn't know that, hey, listen, man, I say this all the time about professional wrestling. They are so ingrained in that wrestling bubble. They're not sports fans. They're not sports fanatics. Mm-hmm. They don't know what's going on. So I would not have expected anybody from WWE to know this. But the people at Netflix, my God, if you didn't know this, shame on you.
I want to address something in the chat, because, and not to insult anybody about not knowing what's going on, but Awesome Sauce says, did Coach just say he was responsible for the Fox deal, the laughing emoji? That was Nick Khan. Awesome Sauce, let me educate you and the audience right now. At 3 a.m., back in 2015, 2014, which there's no way you would have known because you weren't on my phone call on that night at 3 a.m. Vince, you know who called me that night at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Who's that?
Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon.
Yeah. And let me just say something right there, okay? A 3 a.m. Phone call from Vince McMahon is of the norm, Coach. So let's just set it up that way. 3 a.m., 3 in the afternoon, there's no difference to him.
Right.
Okay.
And you guys, you can go back. My dates might be a little bit off, but you can go back and check it. And everything I'm telling you is the absolute truth. So I would routinely get off doing SportsCenter around 2 a.m. I'd get home around 2:45. So I told Kevin, hey, I'll be off. So I told them to call me at this time. And they said, Coach, we're kind of desperate here. We need you to get wrestling content on SportsCenter, which for people who don't know, Nobody at ESPN wanted me to get hired except for a couple of executives because I had the wrestling stink on me.
Right.
Didn't have anything to do with my talent. They didn't care how good I was. And I only lasted 10 years, so it is what it is. But I get this call, and they're like, Coach, we have our rights deal coming up, and we need to sell it to a network. Because back then it was always USA and Spike TV and all of those, right? And so they said, if you can get it on SportsCenter, then we can sell it. And Awesome Sauce, you're right. Nick Khan sold it. But I was partly responsible, as I just said. They said, if you can get it on ESPN, then we can go to Fox, to CBS, to ABC, all of them, and say if it works on SportsCenter, it will work with you. And so when they got that deal done, whoever was like one of the higher ups that spoke that day actually thanked me personally for. And we went to 2 different WrestleManias. We took an entire set. We did live shots to the one in Dallas and then the other one as well. And because of that, and we had a Tuesday night segment, Vince, every Tuesday, because SmackDown was taped on Tuesday, we would interview a superstar and do a 5 to 10 minute segment on SportsCenter with whatever superstar it was, and it just made sense that we would do that. We did that for over 2 years, almost 3 years, and that helped lead because people need to understand in the TV business, this is what we do. This is what we do. And sometimes it's they follow in the footsteps. So you have to show somebody if they're willing to do it, then you can be willing to do it. And that's what I meant by saying I was partly responsible because I made that happen.
Well, Coach, Awesome Sauce, I do want to say, is a Russo brand member, and that's how we roll. He's apologizing, Coach. He's throwing cash at you now, Awesome Sauce. Apologizing, Coach.
That's okay. I'm not even upset. I just wanted to clarify. I think this is our very first little super chat.
Yeah.
You're teasing me about these super chats here at Coach and Bro.
Yes.
So thank you also. I see the apologies. So
yes.
I had to clarify. He goes, I didn't know that. Thanks for the info. That's why we have the Coach and Bro show. We also have people asking about will heel coach make an appearance by the end of the program? And I don't know. We can turn to heel coach really, really quickly. Really, really quickly. I think this is a really good time because we have a really big live audience right now. Vince, I am working on something for us because, one thing that you always believe in and that we've always believed in the wrestling business, you turn something into something. So you're a volatile, you're a what do they call polarizing figure in the world of wrestling. Would you agree with that?
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Right. So there's a brand new, and I think Awesome Sauce would be great for what I'm getting ready to promote. So there's this new company. I can't even give you the name yet because they're not even live yet. But I met with the owners and they said, would you do this for the Coach and Bro show? I go, I got to talk to Vince first. But it's a new platform where people can actually, instead of just typing something in the chat, and Robert says, I'm a Russo guy too. So Robert or Awesome Sauce or Chaz or any of it can come onto the virtual stage. And if they have a question for us, we can bring them on video and they can ask us directly. And we're going to be doing that here at the Coach and Bro, only if you want to.
Yes. Me?
Yeah, if you want to.
Oh, in a minute, Coach. Coach, listen, I say this all the time. People don't understand. I put myself out. Coach, I don't have skeletons in the closet. There's nothing I have to hide. There's nothing I'm afraid of coming out. So that is why I always put myself out there and always make myself available.
I think we also, because once we start, and it's free to join it, but then if you want to come on, it may cost you just a little bit, but that's new. That's the Twitch world. It's kind of Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all that wrapped into one. But another thing I thought would be fun to do, because there's so many people that love wrestling, and they're calling you maybe the biggest heel in wrestling history, is what they're saying. The No Mark Zone has arrived. They're finding us. Coach and Bro, D, I think it'd be fun to have a promo contest because we used to do this at the Fan Festival back in the day where they would set up a thing with the announcers. And then the casual fan could sit down with me or Michael Cole or whoever and call 2 minutes of a big match at a big event. And then right after they were done, they realized, boy, this is a lot harder than I thought. And much like writing for the show too. So I thought it would be fun to do a promo contest once every couple weeks or once every month where people can actually come on video with us and we grade them, maybe give them a prize or something. And I think that would be a lot of fun too. I've been tossing that around. This new platform will allow for that. Would you be into that?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, listen, I've done that at Oracle Park, man. I've paid to do that at Oracle Park. Where I had to call, absolutely, where I had to call some play-by-play of a baseball game. Absolutely.
Wow. I think we're tapping into something here.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think we are tapping into something here. Okay, so that's going to be coming in the next few weeks as we continue to grow this brand and the Behind the Turnbuckle brand. But I feel like today we've crossed over. A lot of your fans are finding this show from Russo's brand. I see them all in the chat.
Because, Coach, they like it real. They like it real. You know, what is the whole thing? Haters are going to be haters, Coach, and they got an agenda and they got a narrative. But after you start listening to me and Coach week after week, it's real simple, Coach. If it's good, we're going to say it's good.
Yep.
If it's bad, we're going to say it's bad. Real simple.
Plain and simple. And the fastest way to get blocked is to say you both want to go back to WWE. They're not going to hire you. I am so tired of that narrative. I can't even tell you. There is a good question from the chat. And again, this will be something that part of the new platform. But right now, you guys can ask it in text. They announced last week, Vince, on Monday Night Raw, that for the first time ever, the Royal Rumble will be outside of the United States. And because they're trying to become the combat sports capital of the world, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia will have the 2026 Royal Rumble. Do you like that, or do you think it perhaps is a mistake?
Well, I don't like it, but I don't think it's a mistake. Listen, Coach, there's a pattern with the WWE. They're going out to the highest bidder. It's that simple. Whoever has the most cash, whoever has the most money for an event, for a television show, whatever the case may be, they're going to win the sweepstakes. And listen, man, you see, now here's where I'm going to be positive. You can't hold that against them, Coach. They're in business. What is every business? Why do you go in business? To make money. They're in business to make money. So do I like the fact that we're not going to have a Royal Rumble in the United States? Absolutely not. I don't like it. But from a business point of view, WWE is going to make a truckload of money.
It's amazing how fast the dollars multiply. I came back for a cup of coffee in 2018. Realized very quickly that with the people I was working with, it wasn't a whole lot of fun. And also, I was very much past wanting to travel every single week. But what I realized, because they signed, the original deal was 10 years, 2 shows a year for $10 million plus expenses per show. So that's $20 million a year. We're now hearing numbers like $50 million, $100 million for these shows. They're doing at least 2 a year now, but the numbers have doubled, tripled. And Saudi Arabia has shown, whether it's a waste of money or not, that boxing, and the other night they just had this big Ring Magazine boxing awards night that all the big boxers, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they were all there. And the Turkey Ali Sheikh, he's trying to bring boxing under one umbrella. And they're sparing no expense doing this. And WWE, they've built a WWE experience. I believe they have an Undertaker experience over there. How much do you think they're giving the Undertaker to go over there a couple times a year? Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Whoa. Kervin has a good question, and this is also something we're going to develop here at the brand. And Vince is very on board with this. He already does a show called Black and White with Stevie Ray. You got to check that out. Kervin says, Vince Russo, why do you think racism to Latino and Japanese pro wrestling? I think, and this is something we want to tackle in the future, is all the ins and outs of the pro wrestling business to hopefully help just a little bit.
Well, I think he's calling me a racist here, Coach. He's saying, Vince, why?
You're not.
Well, Coach, because this is, Coach, I said this 25 years ago. Okay, because
I was unaware.
I am a television writer and I am a producer.
Okay.
When you have an English-speaking show and you have talents that do not speak English, it is very, very difficult for them to connect with an audience. On top of that, Coach, when they're a masked wrestler who doesn't speak English, now you can't understand what they're saying, and now you have no facial. So what I said is, when you put those two together, it is very, very difficult to get a foreign-speaking talent and a talent that wears a mask over on television. That was my comment, Coach, and of course, that turned into me being a racist.
Well, let me say this. That's not racist. That's just true. I've been at the national TV level for over 25 years. There are certain things that talent need to understand to get over with whatever audience, wrestling audience, sports audience, whatever. You normally don't see a Latino announcer calling an MLS game in English. You'll see him in Deportes, which is why ESPN has Deportes. So it's not racist. It's just being honest and true. So I apologize. I didn't even know.
Oh, no, that's okay. Coach, I've been that was 25 years ago, and they still beat that drum.
We have somebody in the chat that says they have Parkinson's, but they would still like to participate in our promo contest. Dominic, let me tell you this. You come here to Coach and Bro or BTT or DTL, I say it all the time. Everybody is welcome.
Absolutely.
Everybody is welcome. So if you want to participate, we'll try to make that happen when we get that started. A couple other things, and then we're going to get the hell out of Dodge. We never go longer than about an hour. If you just want to listen to the audio of the show, you can do that courtesy of Believe Entertainment. Normally, we chop it into two different parts every single Monday and Thursday. Vince, couple of items. The fourth episode of Raw on Netflix, I believe, is scheduled to be in Atlanta. Or the hometown of Goldberg, which I think is Atlanta, correct? And
yes.
So there has been rumors that Goldberg will be the linchpin to promoting that particular episode of Raw. And there's also been rumors that he's going to have a retirement match, I guess, for like the fifth time. And are those the type of things that you think will resonate with the audience to get them hooked in to a particular episode on Netflix?
No, Coach, because every time the WWE does that, when they have a larger audience, because it's the first show on Netflix, because it's a Saturday night main event, because Goldberg's going to be on, when they have a show like that, they don't deliver the type of show that is going to hook people. If you watch the Netflix show last week, there was nothing on that show to bring the viewer to week 2. Nothing. And they do that all the time. When you know you are going to have a huge viewing audience, Coach, you've got to hook them for the next week. WWE does a horrible job doing that, Coach.
It's almost like they treat it like the Super Bowl. And in the Super Bowl, you don't need to promote to the next week,
right?
Because that's a season ender.
Yes.
The WWE has no season enders, which to me is still a gigantic mistake, but it's not my company. And to me, that would have been the best time to promote to next week. But I think in their minds, they're like, wait a second. If we do that, we're going to be treating it like a normal show or like a normal Monday night. And this is an elevated show. This is a standalone. And we'll start next week. So they had the one promo with Damian Priest and then Finn Balor, and that was kind of it. But to me, I don't care how big it is, Vince. You always have to be humble enough to understand we've got to continue this every single week on Netflix. And if you don't promote something, and I know I've been a little bit busy this week, but Vince, I don't feel like I've seen any promotion for Raw tonight at all. Certainly not even a quarter of the promotion that they got for last week. Have you?
I have not, Coach. And just to explain to the people at home so you understand this, guys, we all binge watch on Netflix. And why do we binge watch? Because of the way they close the episode. Coach, it could be 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 4 a.m. You just want to go to bed. But the way the episode ends, God, I got to watch the next episode now.
Yep.
That's how we started binge watching, guys. It's the way they end the show. WWE is horrible at that, Coach.
I just did it with the Jerry Springer show that you told us all about to watch.
Right.
It was only 2 episodes, but at the end of the first one, I had to get right to the second one.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
I had your voice in my head.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is, whether you like the content or not, they beat Oprah, which
Yep.
means there was millions and millions and millions of people. And that's one thing I've learned over the years too, that even if I don't see something, or I may like something or not like something, I never look at it and say that's wrong or that's incorrect. Because if it gets 30 or 40 or 50 million people watching it, then it's correct on a lot of levels.
And Coach, go. No, I'm just saying, Coach, what they did is, and I said this all along, and this is what they don't do in wrestling today. This is what AEW doesn't do. This is what the WWE doesn't do. When you look at the Springer documentary, when you look at when, me and Ed were writing the Attitude Era, Coach, we weren't writing a show that we necessarily liked. It wasn't about us. It was about the masses. And what do you have in wrestling today? Triple H is writing and producing a show he likes. Tony Khan is writing and producing a show he likes. It doesn't matter what they like. You've got to write a show that's going to draw the masses, and that's what Springer did.
And it's also why for years and years, Vince was adamant he didn't like using celebrities inside of the wrestling show, whether it was Raw, whether it was pay-per-views, whether it was WrestleMania. And he got talked into it. Like, Vince, if you're going to get an audience outside of the wrestling bubble, as we like to call it, then you got to go outside of the wrestling bubble. By the way, we're always going to address people in the chat until you get blocked. And I'm glad you brought up AEW, Vince, and WWE, because this is our last topic for the day. But Liza Zone in the chat said, Jonathan, with an H, spell my name correctly, please, our, instead of your, comments about Mercedes Moné stupid. So if I just read that and I was a mean person, I'd be like, you're calling me stupid after you wrote that? But what I will say is this, that every comment I've made about Mercedes Moné has been spot on, and nobody has been able to treat me with any facts to say that I'm incorrect. Ratings dropping off a cliff. The show, you can literally hear people in the second row talking while she is talking, doing a promo. And she has been the worst investment that the AEW has ever had. And it's not close. But now, Vince, they've got an issue. Because coming up this summer, their biggest event, and they recently promoted it with the Boom and Doom guys. Let's bring you a boom. Let's go. So they had about 95 people show up at their press conference in Arlington, Texas. And on, I gotta make sure I get my dates correct, July 12th, Globe Life Field. And right now on this week's Dynamite, I think they sold 1,800 tickets for this week's event. So you're going to go to a baseball stadium that holds 40,000. Oh. Well, on the same night, Vince, Saturday night's main event will also be held by the WWE. Head up. And I'm guessing that by the turnout from the press conference that had Bryan Danielson, the Costco guys, Tony Khan, the whole deal, and they only got 90-some people to show up, that this could be an absolute disaster for AEW to try to fill up 40,000 seats the same night. And I don't know where that one of those Saturday night's main events is going to be in San Antonio. I don't know if that's one. There's a couple this year. But what do you make of, you think WWE did it intentionally or just kind of how it fell?
There's two things I got to address here, Coach. I'm pushing the other way to make Liza Zone happy.
Okay.
Because I'm going to put Rebecca De Mornay over.
Okay.
I love Rebecca De Mornay because, bro, she works Tony Khan like no other. When you watch these scrums and Tony Khan is sitting there, oh my, she melts him. She melts it, and she knows exactly what she's doing, and I love her. I love her for that. She has robbed this dude of so much money, and he didn't even know, doesn't even know what hit him. Doesn't even know what hit him. So I give her all the credit in the world. Great worker, Coach. We gotta stop. We gotta stop any discussion of an AEW WWE competition. Coach, it's over. It doesn't exist. Pardon my French, man. AEW is not a pimple on the WWE's ass. Period. End of story. We need to stop. They shouldn't even be in the same conversation, the same sentence, the same paragraph. There is no competition. There was a competition, Coach. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll say maybe the first year. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. After that, it's like comparing the Kansas City Chiefs to the New York Giants.
It's not even a competition. It's also, and we would love, this is not a WWE show.
No.
We're a pro wrestling show. I would love for them to give us something really positive to talk about. I would love to say, hey, they had 8,000 people this week. They had 10,000 people next week. We don't want them to fail. We don't. More pro wrestling is good for everybody, including shows like ours that talk about them. But understand, when you've spent half a 100 years or 50 years in the wrestling business, we've seen the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs. And this is not a competition. By the way, I believe like Liza is going to become my number one rival here in the chat. Because Liza says, nobody says she's a ratings draw. Okay, but your comments about her are ridiculous. That's exactly what they said when they signed her.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
she's
my
a ratings draw. She's the biggest
God.
female talent of all time.
Tony Khan said that word for word, Coach.
Yes,
word for word. Yes.
And now she's got 4 belts that she walks around. Would you ever, as a writer, put 4 belts on one talent, regardless of who it is?
Right there. She's got Tony right there, Coach. Right
oh, my
there.
gosh. By the way, they're already starting to complain a little bit. Pat in the chat said he went to SmackDown last week, and they were expecting to see John Cena. And instead, there was no John Cena, and there was one match, and he goes, and a bunch of jobber matches. That kind of brings us to the other end of the spectrum, because if Raw is going to get all of the guys and all of the big stars, and Netflix, we know, has demanded, and I would love to know the contracts, Vince, because it's always a number. John Cena said afterwards, like 40 to 50. How many times do you think Roman Reigns has agreed to appear on Raw? Because he limits because of his health, but he's still able to wrestle bangers. I thought his match with Solo was really good. But it comes down to a number. So if fans buy a ticket to Raw or to SmackDown, they can't assume that anybody's going to show up, because that's not the way it works anymore.
Yeah. God, Coach, I can remember, man. I can remember being a kid. And when you went to a baseball game, first of all, Coach, the first, I was from New York, so we went to Shea, and I was a Giant fan. I'll never forget this. The first time my father brought me to see the Giants, first of all, was Juan Marichal against Tom Seaver. Both pitches still in the game in the 10th inning, 0-0. Tommy Agee hit a homer leading off the bottom of the 10th inning. The Mets won 1-0. But, Coach, guess how much box seats were? Guess how much box seats were when my first Met game?
Oh, gosh.
Box
seats. Box seats. $50? $4?
$4, Coach. Okay.
Box seats.
But, Coach, my point was, I'll never forget, when you would go to a game as a kid, the first thing you would do is look up at the scoreboard and get the starting lineup. And by then, Coach, they didn't even they put like the player's number.
Right.
And when your guy, God forbid, Mays wasn't in the lineup, or McCovey wasn't in the lineup, and you're so excited, and then you see. So I know that feeling. Here's the only difference, Coach. You and I both know we love sports. Mays, McCovey, Marichal, Rose, Morgan, Clemente. They would have had to have a bullet to the head to miss a game, Coach. A bullet to the head. These guys never missed a game, Coach.
Old school mentality. Old school mentality.
Yes.
I saw an old video of Michael Jordan. I think he was on the Oprah Winfrey Show or something like that, and he was talking about this. And I love going back to videos that speak well in now. And he was just like, all these kids are getting paid before they perform. She goes, why is that a bad idea? He's like, because you're paying on potential, and then they don't work as hard. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. But would any of those players, because in reference to John Cena, and I love John, but Chris Van Vliet asked him a question afterwards. And by the way, I think Van Vliet was the only legitimate journalist in the entire room during that scrum. It's like fanboyitis in there to ask questions. And he asked about how many times John Cena is going to wrestle. Would any of those players, if you ask him, how many times are you going to play this year? Would they have said, you know what? That's not my cup of tea. I just show up. They hand me the thing, and I go out and perform. I have no say in it whatsoever. Of course they did. Of course Henry Aaron. Of course Babe Ruth. Of course all of these guys. Michael Jordan. You couldn't have ripped Michael Jordan off a basketball court. 82 games. That wasn't even a question back then. Now we're celebrating these guys. But when John Cena tells Chris Van Vliet, hey man, I have no clue how much I'm going to be working. Are you kidding me? They don't have everything planned out from December all the way back to right now, down to the match, down to the big house show at Madison Square Garden. I mean, why would he not answer that question?
Yeah, no, that's what, Coach, we talked about this last week where I said there should be one writer assigned to him. And that entire year for Cena should be scripted out. Entire year.
And it's not. By the way, Mike Hawks Long says, damn, I missed the entire show. We'll catch up. That's a nice thing. We are live every single Monday and Thursday night because you guys asked for it. And I like being able to interact with the chat a lot more than taping the show. But if you miss any of the show, you can go to our YouTube page. There's a whole section right under the Coach and Bro Show. You can catch not only this episode, but any of the previous episodes that you could possibly want. Vince, well done, my brother.
Yeah,
well done,
Coach, a pleasure as always, man. I look forward to these shows with you every Monday and Thursday. Love doing them with you and producer, man. Thank you guys so much, man.
Promote your own stuff real quick. Where can people find all of your shows?
Guys, real quick right now, I'm going to tell you because it's free. It's free. Free is always good. If you've never been a Patreon member, bro, just go to patreon.com/Russo TWC. Get a free week of the brand. It will cost you absolutely nothing.
And I think my favorite show of yours, because you have none of your shows are exactly the same, which is what I love. But I love when you castrate the marks. Because over the years, the marks, and they don't even realize they're marks because they're marks. Right. And I love when you'll find a video or something, and it just makes me laugh. I just wish wrestling fans could go back to just saying, you know what? I love wrestling. I want to know more. I want an inside look, and that's why I come to the Coach and Bro Show. That's as simple as I can make being a wrestling fan. But they take it to the extreme.
Yeah, Coach. Coach, we just did our 400th. Castrating the marks. 400 shows. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How many after you castrated all the different people, how many comments do you think you've gotten? 400,000?
Oh God. Yeah. People love it. Because you call people out, and what you do is you call them out by using their own words.
Correct. Or their own video.
Yeah, or their own video. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
It's really, really hard to defend when it's you on the screen and not just our
kind of like this, Coach.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer did a big number as well.
Kind of like that, Coach.
And that's a great way to end the show. We're here every single Monday and Thursday, live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, part of the BTT Universe. I love my boy. He is from russosbrand.com, Vince Russo, producer man behind the scenes. I am the Coach. We'll see you Thursday for the next episode. We love this so much. There is only one, the Coach and Bro Show. Take care.